Hi, welcome back. We are here at the Red Cup Conversations in beautiful Bixby Knolls of Long Beach at the historic
John Lee Hooker's house.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that this house was owned by John Lee Hooker, the legendary blues guy.
Oh, yes.
Lived here for some years. He had many houses.
This is one of them.
We have to get that historic.
Was the bar here then?
No, this is, I tell you, the reason why we built the bar.
Yeah.
During COVID, me and John was sitting over there drinking.
Watching the bar being built.
Watching the bar being built, but before then, they shut all the bars and stuff down on Atlantic, so I brought one home. And from there, we were eating, drinking, and getting fat. And we start talking about politics and everything, because I'm used to talking politics, because, my boy over there, you can't see him in the camera, but you know who he is.
Yeah.
We always talk about politics and stuff, so John came up with the idea, hey, let's bring people to the bar and start this little red, that's a good idea. So here we are.
Well, good. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We are not professional, as you can tell.
No professional training at all.
We may stammer, we may stumble, we may repeat ourselves, but stutter. We're not professional. So this is fun for us. Hopefully, it's fun for you and everyone. And so let's get started. So a little background. Today we have Suzie Price running for mayor of Long Beach. Congratulations! And why are you doing this? Why would you put yourself through this?
Yeah.
That's the question I get asked the most by everybody. Why? So it's a great question. I've been in public service, my whole life. Graduated with a master's in public administration from Long Beach State, and I was student body president. So that was my first experience with politics. I care about this community. I care about the future of our city. I want to create a place where every community is strengthened and feels a sense of connection to the larger city. And I think that we just have the best of Long Beach ahead of us. And I'm excited to be the next mayor.
All right. A couple follow-up questions. We talked to a lot of folks in the neighborhood, and one of the things that really comes to the first in mind is they talk about the homeless, I don't say issue, but there's a lot of homelessness out there, and what can the city do, and how can we help these people? We got dogs. How can we help these people? You got people that are mentally ill, people that are dependent on drugs, you have people that are just giving up. What can we as a city do to help these folks get back on their feet?
So that's probably the question I get asked most by everyone, no matter what part of town I'm talking about, and it's something that every community wants us to focus on. And I'll tell you, in the city of Long Beach, we're doing a lot of things that are great, but we're not doing all those things in a great way. And that's because we've really stretched the city staff and our resources to the point where we're not able to do a lot of the things in the way that we should be. I'm very involved in homeless outreach in my day job, involved with a lot of our collaborative core programs, our street outreach programs. I go on ride-alongs regularly. I've done the homeless count in Long Beach and in Orange County. And I'll tell you, to me, having about 2,000 homeless people, as we do in the city of Long Beach, is not a number that we can't overcome. The way we're doing it right now, though, is not going to help us make a dent in that population and helping those people connect to services, because we're just not throwing enough resources at the street outreach part. So my thoughts are a few things. With our street outreach teams, we need to have, because this is an issue in every district, and every district deserves attention, not just some districts, every district deserves attention. So I'd like to have a homeless outreach team in each district, and I'd like them to be deployed in a very targeted way. Because street outreach is all about building credibility and trust and showing people the dignity that they deserve that makes them want to take that next step. That initial step may be as simple as getting someone a haircut and a shower so that they feel confident going back to the last place they felt safe. Whether it's with their family or to a job interview or wherever their last place they felt safe with. Getting to that point from being on the street is sometimes a really challenging thing for people, and that's where street outreach makes a difference. The way we're doing street outreach right now, though, is not consistent because we don't have the resources to deploy it consistently. So what I'd like to see done, and this is what a lot of cities are doing and seeing a difference, and I think it would absolutely make an impact in the city of Long Beach. My first 100 days as mayor, I want to focus on this, is we're going to deploy an outreach team to go to each council district. they're going to work with the council office to say, where's the biggest issue of homelessness right now in your district? And they're going to go to a specific location for at least 2 weeks, every single day. They're going to show up every single day and they're going to talk to the same people. What do you need? How can we help you get your ID? A lot of people don't know. The services that are out there right now for people experiencing homelessness are only made available to them if they have an ID. If you don't have a simple thing like an ID, you can't get medical services, you can't get dental services, you can't go to rehab. And so as simple as being there, just being present and talking to them. How are you feeling today? How are you doing today? Can I help you with this? You're looking good. Hey, it looks like you're trying to work on that. Can I help you with that? Building that relationship and showing people dignity for every single day for a 2 to 3 week period of time, I guarantee you we would have major success getting those people to a point where they have that aha moment. This is a person that cares about me. They've been here every day. They've showed up for me. They believe in me, and I'm gonna trust them. And I think that that's something we haven't done yet. And if we did that, I guarantee you we would reduce the number of street homelessness by about half if we do that effort. And I tell people all the time, I see it work all the time. I go out on ride-alongs with our quality of life officers I have, and I go out in Orange County at least once a week. And I'm telling you, it works to see that kind of engagement because these are human. They need to feel respected. They need to feel like someone really cares for them. And the city needs to do a better job of doing that. And I think that's important. The other thing is, like, our outreach teams, they only work until 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. People are homeless after 5 p.m. People are experiencing trauma and homelessness on the weekends. And the first person who comes into contact with them shouldn't be a police officer. It should be an outreach worker with mental health training and expertise to learn how to build that relationship. And so we need to expand their hours and expand the number of them. And if it turns out, like in 6 months, we deployed one to every council district and we're in a much better place, we can reduce them at that point. But right now we have an emergency situation and we need to meet it with an emergency response.
Good.
Yeah, any follow-up?
Is it that the REACH program? Is it similar to like Los Angeles Police Department? We have the MEU, Mental Evaluation Unit. Is there going to be an officer and like a clinician or medical professional, or is it going to be two mental health professionals?
So the model of the REACH team that we have here, which is loosely modeled after Cahoots and models that honestly every city is utilizing now. I mean, it's great that we're doing it. I mean, I brought an item in 2017 to the city council and talked about our non-police officer staffed outreach teams.
Yes.
We've been talking about this since 2017 when I brought that item, but I'll tell you, every city has some version of what we're calling REACH. And in its truest form, it doesn't involve a police officer. It's a behavioral health expert, sometimes a medical professional like a nurse, and then oftentimes they're benefited by having someone with lived or shared experience, someone who themselves have been homeless in the past and who offer another layer of credibility to the homeless individuals. And that's the ideal model. Now, where there are situations where there may be issues that present dangers to the behavioral health experts or the nurses where they want an officer there as backup, that certainly on those situations can be arranged for. But the true team, it's about non-police response. Because when people are scared and they get approached by a police officer and they've got a flashlight in their face, we're talking about building trust and showing people dignity. That's how you get them to services. And that approach with the police officer sometimes comes across harsh, unless it's a quality of life officer who's not in uniform and has an additional layer of mental health treatment.
Yeah, and it's
expertise.
In my opinion, it's a disservice to the police officer. Also, they're thrown in to have to be a mental health evaluator, and you didn't go to the training for that.
That's right. I mean, even though most officers are now getting one of the post requirements, and you know this, is mental health cultural competence training, it's still not at the level where they can do street outreach.
Right. All right, let's move on to the next question. What do you want to? We have a list of a few here.
Crime.
Sure.
What is your take on the crime? The big thing is the catalytic converters. Right now, it's a smash and grabs all over, LA County. What's your thoughts on that?
So I will tell you again, every community that I've been talking to, and yeah, we all represent different council districts. When you're running for mayor, you're talking to everybody, and I've been all around this city. And I'll tell you, the one thing that's clear is everybody wants a safe community. Everybody wants fast response times, and everybody is concerned about safety. Now, articulated very differently in our city. We have a very diverse city.
Yeah.
In one part of town, it may be catalytic converters
Yes.
or package thefts, okay? But the real concern there isn't so much the package theft or the catalytic converter, it's that somebody who has ill intentions is within a few feet of your front door.
Of course.
That's the real concern. If they may not articulate it that way, but it's not that, oh, my package was stolen,
Right.
this is outrageous. It's my package was stolen, which means somebody who has bad intentions was on my front porch and my family's inside the house. In other parts of town, the concerns about safety are very different. We had over 450 hit shootings last year. You know, a hit shooting is when a gun is fired and it makes contact. Over 450, that's more than one a day. 37 murders last year. And so the actual concerns about great bodily injury or death are real for some communities. And so, you know, I'm a big supporter of our public safety infrastructure, the broader public safety infrastructure, which is prevention, but also reaction. We need to have a police department that's able to respond, because most people don't call the police unless they need help. They feel desperate, they have nowhere else to call, and we should never have a scenario where people call the police because they fear that their life is in danger and the police are held up somewhere else and don't have enough patrol to go out and see what's happening. So in terms of crime, I mean, obviously, I think we need to do everything we can, and I'm super proud of my work in mentorship and being involved in a lot of efforts that are preventative. I've been a part of the gang reduction and intervention program, GRIP, in Orange County for over 10 years now. I go and talk with elementary school kids on Friday afternoons. I'm not doing it right now because I'm a little busy, but that's what I've been doing my whole life, and I think those programs work. But on the side where we have a response needed by the police, we need more police officers. We absolutely do. We're down about 300 from where we really should be, and it's even more than that because we've had police officers that we have deployed to other additional assignments that we didn't have before, you know, whether it be Metro or the airport. And so we really need to staff our police department back up. We need to make sure that the students that are going to be going through the academy, do everything we can to help them graduate the academy and then fold them into the police department, assuming they're a good fit. But we also need to retain the officers that are on the cusp of retirement, because it's going to take about a year and a half before the ones going through the academy are actually behind a patrol car and responding. So we need to do things, creative things like retention bonuses to try to keep our officers that are on the cusp of retirement from leaving and get them to stay here while we transition a new workforce into our police department. I'm a big supporter of doing everything we can to keep our streets safe, and that oftentimes means investing more in our police department. You rarely invest less in something and get a better result. That usually doesn't work out. But look, our investments in the police department have allowed for things like enhanced transparency. You know, I was a big proponent of body-worn cameras. Everyone kept talking about how expensive they were going to be. Oh, doesn't the police department already get enough money? Yeah, they do, but if we don't give them this money, we're not going to have body-worn cameras on every patrol officer, and every patrol officer should have a body-worn camera because that protects everybody, the police officer as well as the people they come into contact with. And look, that investment was great in terms of us being up to this national standards of transparency. We need to invest in training for our police officers. You know, not everyone has the same trust in police officers throughout this city. Building that community trust and ensuring accountability is huge. That's going to take an investment. We recently got a federal grant. This was an item that I brought to council to participate in Georgetown Law School's ABLE program. It's all about bystandership liability. You know this, having been a police officer. To me, the number one way to change police culture is through bystandership liability. It's the one police reform mechanism that has been proven over and over again to work, to reduce incidents of violations of policy and use of force, and just culture violations in police departments. And we're going to be participating in that program. It's about a $2 million training program.
What is it exactly? Because I'm not familiar with it.
Sure. So bystandership liability is a top-down training that changes culture in police organizations. And it basically protects, but also holds accountable, bystanders who are in a position out in the field where a fellow officer is doing something that's either outside of the policy or just isn't right. It doesn't feel right. Whether it's the words they're using, the tone they're using, the way they're using their power, and it places upon the bystander an affirmative duty to report the conduct of the other officer. And if they don't, there is liability and accountability for that officer. Let's face it, police departments, like a lot of other police departments, have a culture that's protective. And that is why in a lot of situations things have happened that should never have happened. Bystandership liability is something that needs to be a culture change, not just right now. It's not going to be a flip of a light switch and it changes. It's got to be a generational culture shift. And this program out of Georgetown Law School is super competitive to get into. Our police department actually had to apply. They came down and they interviewed us to see if we were a good fit, and they think we're a good fit. They're not saying that about every police department. For a police department of our size to be able to participate in that, it's huge. To me, it's the number one way to ensure immediate change in a police department in terms of reform.
Yeah, one of the things in our backyard conversations that we would have in the summer, and we used to say this all the time about cops.
Yeah, the only bad thing about law enforcement is they hire from the human race. It's gonna you're gonna have people make mistakes. To me, that's the only thing that's bad about law enforcement, because if you get robots, it'd be a different outcome. But since it's humans,
well, and you're absolutely right, Aaron. But here's the thing: unlike a lot of professions, a mistake in the criminal justice system, whether it's at the police officer level, at the prosecutor level, or at the judge level, or at the jury level, has huge impacts.
I agree.
Not just on the person,
right,
but on the community.
I agree.
And so much community trauma that we see is from, systemic violations, not just by police officers, but throughout the system, prosecutors, judges. So there are certain industries where, yes, mistakes are going to happen, but those mistakes have a cascading effect, which is completely detrimental. We're talking about building public trust back up. Very few industries where if someone makes a mistake, you have to work that hard to build trust back up, because they might just say, oh, I made a mistake, and there's a lot of grace given. But a mistake that costs someone their life or their dignity or their liberty is a huge mistake. And we have to be mindful of that. As I've been a prosecutor for 23 years. Have I made mistakes? Yes. But there are certain mistakes that if I make them, they're going to ruin someone else's life.
Oh, I totally agree. Being a law enforcement, I know, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
And those are usually backyard conversations him and I have had over the red cup.
Yeah.
So
Which only has water.
Yes, it's always water. It's always water. Another one that pops up a lot is the Queen Mary. We love the Queen Mary. Great intentions, and was 67 when it was here. Great intentions to bring it here. And what's your vision of the Queen Mary, and what are we going to do with it?
So I was the only council person who voted against giving $23 million to Urban Commons to do the emergency repairs on the Queen Mary, because I was worried that we would risk that $23 million and somehow we either wouldn't get the return on our investment that had been promised to us, or we would lose that money outright. And I was right in a lot of regards. It turned out that the partner that the city had chosen to partner with, Urban Commons, did not do us right. They committed fraud. They reported things inaccurately. They didn't keep good records of where they had spent our $23 million. And we made a mistake, in my opinion, that was to a tune of tens of millions of dollars to try to support that partnership. Lesson learned. We talk about mistakes. That was a mistake.
Right.
And certainly there was nothing that was a flashing red light to us that these people are fraudsters, maybe we shouldn't interact with them. We didn't know. For me, there was something that didn't feel right, which is why I voted the way I did. But we're talking about a $250 million at least burden in regards to the ship in order to just get it the level of maintenance that it needs to remain afloat. I'm not talking major renovations. I'm not talking making it a world-class hotel. I'm talking just repairs to keep it afloat and not deteriorating further, at least $250 million. That's what we've been told. before we are even to even talk about investing that kind of public dollars into a city asset, we would have to have the public weigh in. That is not a decision that the council should make emotionally based on their connection to the Queen Mary or because they think the public feels a certain way. As I go out into the community, it doesn't matter what community I'm talking to, what people say to me is they want their streets paved.
Yeah.
They want infrastructure fixed so that we don't have more deferred maintenance on buildings, city buildings. They want more police officers. They want more outreach teams. $250 million can buy a lot of that. So we really need to make sure that we engage the public if we have to go down that road. Right now, the ship and the discussion of the future of the ship is with the port. To me, our best hope of the future of the ship right now lies with the port. And the reason is not because the port is super enthusiastic about taking on a $250 million liability, but because of what the Queen Mary comes with in that discussion. In that discussion, it would come with Pier H. And the port's ability to monetize Pier H in a manner that makes the taking on the liability of the Queen Mary financially sensible for them, that is the conversation that we're having right now. So I look forward to hearing from the port of what they could do. In my opinion, again, this is just my personal opinion, and I'm going to be very open to any ideas. I'm complete open mind about the Queen Mary, other than we're not going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars without engaging the public and taking it to a vote. I feel very strongly about that. But when we're talking about what options could happen, one of the things I've thought about is we need to take it out of the water. Continuing to be in the water is adding to its rapid demise and deterioration. It just is. It's sitting in salt water. It is already not in a good place, and it's going to continue to deteriorate, and that being in the water is going to add more and more costs. So I would love to dry dock it, take it out of the water. I think about, if the port were to take it and the port were to maybe, hypothetically, expand the cruise terminal to allow Pier H to have additional cruise terminals, could the Queen Mary be saved either in its entirety or part of it as a museum and a place where people can walk through as they're going to their cruise? Kind of like an attraction. It's an exciting thing. You're going on a cruise, you're going to walk through this amazing museum.
Walk through history.
Walk through history. Yeah. And I think that would be kind of cool. Again, this isn't I'm sharing this with you in the backyard conversation.
That's right.
I haven't put pen to paper to it. I don't know how much that would cost.
We heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. But I think, it could be kind of like a theme for the cruise terminal.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
I do too. I feel like it's kind of you're going on you're going to go on your cruise out of San Pedro or Long Beach. Well, if we go to Long Beach, we get to go through the Queen Mary. We get to introduce that piece of history to our children. We get on the ship. We take our cruise. We come back. Kind of like when you get off of a ride at Disneyland and they force you to go through all the shops before you can get back into Disneyland.
And they take a picture of you and try to sell you that picture.
Yes, so I feel like they have to go through the Queen Mary shop, and we can sell carnival stuff, we can sell city stuff, we can have a concert.
We take a picture of them, and as they leave, we can try to sell them a picture of them.
Yeah, a picture of themselves, But I think there's an opportunity if we can take it, if we can dry dock it. I think to me that would be the cheapest way to maintain its history.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up. I know tight schedules.
This is a serious conversation. This is a battle between him and I.
Yeah, this is a battle between.
And we ask everybody this right now.
So we have a few questions. It's usually the same ones, to be fair.
Okay.
Star Trek versus Star Wars.
Star Wars.
No one lost.
I'm winning.
You are winning.
I'm winning.
You bet on Star Trek?
He's a trick.
I'm a live long and prosper guy, through and through. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little older than you.
You are. A lot older than I am. You're old, dude. Favorite 80s band?
Ooh, definitely between New Edition and BBD. I'm trying to think which concert I really liked.
I think she's selling me.
I think BBD.
I know you were the biggest Big Edition fan back in the day. I remember. I saw those pictures.
Yeah. I go to all those concerts. Love them all.
Our final question, which is the hardest question.
What's in the red cup?
Always water.
Always water.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Suzie, for coming and joining us in the backyard and at the bar. One last thing, vote. Everyone should vote.
Everybody.
Vote.
Vote.
It's really important that everybody votes.
I'm not saying anything.
She's pointing at herself, but vote. We are very passionate about that voting. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time.